my gosh, I freaking love this, right? So I was literally looking for the fool, but then okay, I was looking for the fool, but then as I was going like this through my decks, this is how I shuffle anyway, the card that literally jumped out was the fool. And it's so funny because I was looking for this for almost like an illustration for what the Hermetic law that we're going to be focusing on today is. And it's about you being on the verge of a breakthrough, but every time you're on the verge of a breakthrough, the universe asks you to release something, and it usually is to make room. What I love about the depiction of this fool is that you can see this intricate geometric design that is this infinite sea of possibilities that she's being called to essentially fall into so that she can collapse into a new life experience. And it's something that is very self-organized in nature. It just feels like there are things and people aligning that are self-organized into your experience to literally escort you into a new chapter. And simultaneously, you're also being called to release something. This is something that I've really been pondering on these past few days, I guess, to kind of share. And the more I observe my life, the more I notice that every single meaningful new beginning has usually asked us to sacrifice something. And that sacrificial energy, especially in etymology, what does it mean? It means to make something sacred once again. There is room that you're being called to create in your life in order to enter into this sacred reconnection with yourself, so that when you enter into this new chapter, I'm seeing something around not losing your footing as you take this leap of faith. I feel many of us used to believe that growth meant more abundance and more people and networks and opportunities and experiences and love and whatever that could be for you. Yet as we mature as a human race, I do believe many of us are coming back to I'm seeing like epiphanies. So it's like these realizations that growth often means leaving something behind that can't come with us anymore. And that is true maturation. It's to grow without attaching to an old identity that we are now evolving beyond. And that could be certain belief systems that we've held that are just not going to be conducive or supportive for what this version of reality requires from us. The lesson is that sometimes the very thing trying to leave your life is actually creating the very room that's necessary for you to receive this something new. And that's one of the Hermetic laws that we're going to be talking about today, because even humanity in these collective timelines can simply not gain anything fast without giving something in return. So it is the way that we exchange our life force with the material plane. That is the mechanics of spirit navigating matter. And every single cause has an equal effect, okay? Every creation and everything that we're trying to create in this tangible realm requires attention. It requires focus. It requires investment, whether that is financially, emotionally, mentally. It requires some type of movement from one state into another state. And in practical terms, I guess some examples I would give you is if we're creating something new, it requires us to do something. And that something may be that we have to sacrifice our time. It may be that we need to redirect our energy. It could be that you're having to release an old identity and belief systems that that version of self had, that again is not going to be supportive for the version of self in which you're becoming. It could also be letting go of competing possibilities. So it could be making up your mind around the direction that you want to move in. But some type of definition of success in your life is going to require some type of sacrifice, some kind of equal energy exchange. Let's touch base on a few examples. So if you're trying to build a business, what are some things that you're going to have to do? Well, that's going to be sacrifice time. It may be from your social life. It may be from just recreational habits. It could just be from lounging around to actually intentionally redirecting your focus so that this timeline becomes more conducive. It requires some kind of sacrifice in order to create this sacred connection to this area of your life. Another thing that could be opened up as far as an avenue in your life may be becoming healthier, right? If you want to become healthier, what you're going to have to do is sacrifice old habitual ways of being. So it could be old habits that are not going to be conducive, supportive, or aligned with the version of self that you are becoming or evolving into. So it's going to require releasing some things. Another one could be, well, if you are desiring to be in a relationship, well, what you're going to have to sacrifice, well, you're probably going to have to sacrifice just, let's just say, certain forms of independence in your life, right? So there is always a sacrifice that we're creating in life, but that's for Korban in Hebrew, which means something new that's drawing near as a direct result of that sacrifice. And so I see the Fool card as also, like, I started this as soon as this came out without even finding the death, because I wanted to use these as illustrations. On the other side, right? That death is not the ending, it's just a new beginning in disguise. And it's not punishment, and we even have the death here after the Wheel of Fortune, so it feels like an ending creates a pivotal turning point for you. Again, it could be old ways of being, old ways of navigating the construct. Death and rebirth in this card is funny because this Fool is literally somebody going through some type of rebirth. And it's mainly because your energy and attention are things that are almost finite resources, right? If we think about our attention as something that is incredibly valuable, that can create something of great value, that is a conducive charge that we can then intentionally direct or invest into a certain area of our life, all that's being asked of us as a human race is where we choose to allocate our attention, where we choose to allocate our time so that we can create, right? And that very force of creation is the very thing that brings about transformation in all of our life experiences. And that energy changes form, right? Death is not the end, it's only transformed. So it's almost like your energy is focusing into some type of new area or avenue of your life, even if that's yourself. And that is transforming you. It's transforming your relationship, your potential to some type of area of your life. It's interesting because on the floor here, I have the Three of Swords, the Six of Wands, and the Page of Cups, which is almost somebody receiving a lot of synchronicities and ideas about this future vision that they have. Maybe it's some type of reward or recognition. And the Three of Swords talks about a bittersweet energy. So it could feel bittersweet to follow this vision, or like, it's the releasing of something that leads you directly into something else, yet it can still hurt to say goodbye. Maybe that's like old ways of navigating this world. So for example, you may be kissing goodbye to some of your social life for a while you, I don't know, like chase this business success. You may be saying goodbye to your Doritos while you go to the gym and get that body. You might be saying goodbye to your independence as you enter into a new chapter of your life where there's some type of relational dynamic unfolding, right? So really that's what the bittersweet energy could be. And it's understanding that every choice we make does close off other possibilities for ourselves, because when you choose one path, you're also simultaneously deciding to not walk countless other experiences that were also available for you. For example, when you become a parent, you create a new chapter in your life, but it also ends an entire version of your life that's centered around yourself, right? Because your life no longer becomes about yourself. Instead, it is kind of orbiting around this other human or this other being that you have brought into creation. Another example could be, yes, you could start a business, and of course that creates a possibility for yourself, but as any entrepreneur knows, it also compromises any kind of certainty or predictability in your life, right? You don't have the predictability or stability that a 9-to-5 may give you, but then also with great risk comes great reward. So it almost gives me the energy of a trade-off in our life, and if the trade-off is worth it, right? Is the trade-off of healing a wound in your life that ends up creating freedom something that is worth letting go of old familiar identities that you've built around being that version of self? Maybe it's how that version of self has closed themselves off from certain experiences, right? They've created an identity around that wound where it's I don't trust people, and so they close themselves off from relational experiences that could unfold. I want you to see this as the illustration of being a sculptor, because this is what's happening at this stage in your life. So imagine this, right? The sculptor doesn't create the statue from nothing. Instead, he removes everything that literally isn't the statue. And so it's the marble itself that's becoming transformed so that the excess can fall away. And in doing so, the statue begins to appear. Likewise, in your life, many life creations involve a subtraction as much as an addition. So you don't merely just add confidence to your life, you remove self-doubt. You don't just add abundance, but instead you remove scarcity patterns. And you don't just merely add a new timeline, but instead you actively stop feeding the old one. From a psychological standpoint, this is the exact reason why growth can feel so uncomfortable, because the ego associates transformation as a loss, even if the new reality is better. And that could look like the ego is like, oh, I have to sacrifice this time with my friends, or, you know, going out and maybe spending the time that I would have watching a movie, into redirecting that into this business that I'm building. Even if that business is literally going to be the gateway into the opportunity that you seek. It could be, oh, I have to, you know, give up my Doritos or my junk food or my da-da-da-da-da and redirect my focus into, you know, nourishing my body in a different way, an alternative way, so that I can unlock my full human potential, whatever that may look like, in order to create a healthier vessel for myself. Even though that's the version of reality that I'm desiring to experience, I want to be able to connect with myself in this way in my body. It could look like, I'm having to sacrifice my independence and da-da-da-da-da and going out on a Friday night, or doing this and this and that, because even though I desire that very love, even though I desire that, you know, that deeper sense of connection with another sovereign being, so there is always some kind of sacrifice, even if our ego is sometimes like craving that success or that visibility or that abundance in our life. You can still unconsciously resist gaining the very thing that you desire, because you're resisting and losing the habits that may be required from you. It could be the old coping mechanisms or the familiarity of like suffering. It could also be you know, having to release certainty in your life in order to embrace more potential in another area. It could be a victim identity. It could be having to release some type of social belonging that has brought you a sense of comfort, even if that's with the people that knew the old version of you that's existed, that you're now evolving beyond, right? So they've always known you as, but enter your name here, you always come out on Friday nights. What do you mean you're not coming out? Or you're like, well, you know, girls, guys, I'm investing in this venture or this endeavor, and so my time's going to be allocated here instead. Again, it can be a bit disorientating for even those around you as you reinforce these new ways of being. And so naturally, when we are up leveling, it does require an old version of ourselves to fall away. And sometimes it looks like an old version of reality can also fade away as well, because those networks are essentially going to be broken down. And sometimes our ambition can intimidate those around us. And so any relationships that are built on those fractured or misaligned values are going to crumble inevitably, like a house of cards. And it's because, you know, the people that are really going to support us at this stage of our life as this version of self will show up. And those that won't. And we have to be okay with that evolution being that transformation, because hey, that's going to make room for new people or new opportunities or new experiences being able to enter into our experience. And so that loss doesn't become a loss. Again, it is not the end. The energy is not created nor destroyed. It's only going to be transferred or recycled or transform itself. And so that energy will transform itself into, you know, people or alliances that are going to be more conducive for you at this stage of your journey. And it's often because when the soul desires expansion, it requires for the ego to go through an ego death. And that ego death is often just releasing the familiarity. And that's why so many mystical traditions refer to this as our phoenix rising from the ashes moment, or the rebirth, or the alchemy, or the initiation that we go through. And it's because the gold, there's a phoenix card in here. I think I just saw it. Let me see. It talks about the joy of life that's experienced, especially from a soul perspective. I'm going to see if I can find it. I literally swear I just saw it. Here it is. Fire and transformation. So it feels like you're going through this very initiation at this stage of your life, and it's because you're following some kind of heart's calling. And so the phoenix shows us that the price of becoming is often not the loss of something valuable, but it's the willingness to release what can no longer accompany you with where it is that you're going, right? With the version of self that you're evolving into. And that is the level up, right? And that is the fool's journey, because this fool is taking a leap of faith, and it's not just that, you know, they're stepping away from something off of this cliff in the old paradigm, but she is more focused in the experience that she's falling into, right? The experience in which she will be received by, the experiences in which she is, you know, leaning into and allowing herself to experience. And so in many ways it kind of paints the idea that creation is not just this cosmic debt that's required. I'm hearing in the law of giving and receiving, but it's more about transforming yourself from one energy state into another energy state. And that's what's happening, right? The way that you navigate this construct may look different as you begin to redirect your energy, as you begin to redirect your life force. So I'm gonna go ahead and get a advice message for you. It's gonna be a collective theme. So let's see. This is the Hermetic law. Let's see. Right, you have, oh, two. This one's coming out on the side. Let's see. Tidal force. Okay, so you have tidal force and parallel universes. Parallel universes talks about the power of choice, and not choosing is still a choice. Tidal force could be understanding the force behind each one of your decisions right now and your non-decisions, right? When you decide to, I'm hearing, learn how to say no, because it's in saying no to something that you open up the room to also say yes to other things. Parallel. Like, you can see this as parallel universes of the version of you that's, you know, agrees to, let's just say, go out on Friday night with your friends, and the version of you that decides to say no and says yes to staying at home and working on this business venture. What would they experience within time, right? The distance between those two events, between the starting point and the next day. I'm hearing, what do you have to show for it? Because that time is going to pass anyway. So what are you going to do with it, right? The version of you 6 months from now already exists, is existing simultaneously alongside this one. The results that that version of self is experiencing is determined solely upon the choices that they chose on a day-to-day basis, right? The incremental steps that they chose, the time decisions that they chose that created this branching universe. So the power of choice, how did you become who you are today? How did you get where you are? Well, where you are right now in your life is the culmination of every choice that you made and every choice that you did not make. So it reminds me of the reading that we did quite recently, speaking about black matter, dark matter, and taking accountability for every one of our conscious or unconscious choices, and understanding that as we implement and put a new cause, right, program a new cause into our life, we end up being seated inside of another effect. Our choices determine the journey that will unfold before us. Our choices determine our life's journey. It's as simple as that. Power is not everywhere else except for with you. You are the powerful being. The power is always with you. Always. So, although all your lived situations, events, and experiences have throughout life are important factors, they are not the answers to these questions. Even when we do not have choice or do not take it, we're still choosing. So, these are key roles in our life. Every choice you've made, no matter how small or relevant, have attracted threads and threads of energy that has molded who you are today. If you're a piece of clay dancing softly at the mercy of the rhythm, with each choice, infinite possible webs transpire in other realities. Many of the things that happen to us do not come through choice, but we still choose what to do with them. Yeah. Sometimes it talks about what plays out is unfavorable, but we can actually make them favorable. Our choices are sometimes correct, and other times we can make them be. The universe has mysterious ways of sometimes working in our favor. So I'm seeing it as a powerful surge in each one of your choices, like a powerful surge, or let's just say release of energy that is directed in a very particular area of your life. Let's see the culmination of this, because a tidal force talks about, these gravitational this gravitational pull by the moon. So it feels like the unconscious or more of the subtle realms that are guiding or influencing choices that you're being guided to make. Sometimes following the soul's path looks like making irreversible choices where you're guided by something invisible that not everyone is going to understand. Right, we also have DNA, of course, right? Um, that's because the very thing that you desire is something that you desire because you're entangled quantumly with a version of self that is already seated inside of that version of reality. You desire it because you've already experienced it and you're walking yourself back in a linear fashion to witness the journey towards that event. DNA talks about demonstrable gifts, but inside DNA, we all know is memory, right? And then you have vapor trail. So vapor trail literally talks about a mark in the historical timeline, and it talks about trails that are left behind, right? So it literally is it's a historical card, and DNA is saying that it's already happened, right? Gut feelings, and it's been proven by scientists, are memories from our future self. And so this is saying that the reason you have the gut feeling to do this thing or apply yourself in this direction is because there's a memory that you have around where it's already happened, right? Vapor trail is the past left its mark in the sky. We are time travelers of the past and future, which become the present when we are in them, leaving the present in an unknown time. Despite its appearance, this is a sign or signal of an event that has happened in the past. And DNA is something that you're remembering. So it's like this path is unfolding in front of you as you make these choices. The journey that's unfolding for you right now is I'm hearing the journey that's unfolding from you or through you is like a memory. It's like a memory before you of the Akashic records, because that stores within your DNA the potential of everything that you could become and the potential of everything that you've already been. So let me go ahead and read this. DNA is demonstrable gifts. It's also the full expression and expansion, okay? DNA, it connects us with hereditary information and in turn, the transmission of this information. There are ancestral patterns traveling through the quantum field towards us to reveal something or someone from our lineage. So there could actually be some like ancestral impressions or information that you could be receiving or communication internally when it comes to a strong urge or desire to actually experience life in this way that is being able to be expressed and experienced through you. This can show itself in a positive ability such as the potential to channel hidden gifts and talents in the family and of those who have not shown them before, as well as the repetition of patterns that must be healed as they travel towards us to come to the light. Yeah, connect with your inner self by taking 3 deep breaths, and you will then feel the information that needs to be healed or shown come from your heart. If it is something which makes you feel bad, cutting the pattern is the way to heal and transform it. If you feel energy coming with demonstrable gifts, enjoy the qualities. that are given to you as you bring forward the wisdom from your lineage. So again, there's something from the past that has not been lived, because cellular memory consists of information which is stored in our bodies. So it's emotional, body, energy, and in this etheric realms. All life experiences, whether we remember them or not, leave a record in our cellular memory. This is how our body stores experiences that we have not lived, and it connects us with the information we have received from our ancestors. Yeah, so essentially this is the memory and history of the earth itself, because you are an organism composed up of trillions of cells that is then composed up of the earth. That's what your avatar third dimensional vessel is essentially manifested with, utilizing these elements. And each one of your cells, you hold DNA, right, inside of the nucleus, and inside the nucleus you hold the memory of the Akashic library. It's the interconnected database that stores a living memory of all organisms, all extensions that have walked amongst this planet, existing from the past, future, and present simultaneously. The potential of everything that humanity could become and everything that humanity has been, and these cycles that the earth has moved through. And I'm just seeing it as a cycle within this lifetime that desires to move through you, right? It's like an octave expression. I'm just seeing it as this, as the DNA expression, right? Where it's expanding, where it's previously being contracted. Because as it begins to expand, you can think about each one of these as vortices and libraries of information. I'm just seeing that being accessed, like things that you can finally retrieve and streamline out that have been coiled up and suppressed, right? So that's the expansion of DNA itself, right? So, yeah, that's very, very interesting. Let's go ahead, but also not surprising. Yeah, 555. I got a notification for all eyes on me, so it could feel like all eyes on you right now. I'm gonna go ahead and get a message from the gateway of the light activation deck too. Let's see. You have Gaia gateway activation. Of course you do, right? It's the intelligence of the earth. So the earth has much in store for you. It's learning experiences, wisdom transmission, and earth intelligence. Then you have also Seraphine's Gateway, which is earth angel kind of energy and earth angel type of archetype. Gaia Gateway speaks about key energetic spaces that we can connect with in order to activate ascension processes, where many of us feel like ascension is moving beyond the limitations of the body and transcending the physical realm. But instead, it's being able to be present in the body with full awareness of the spirit within. That was another transmission that I got. This could be an interesting quote for you. I think I wrote it down in, where was it? The serpent power, the fire of awakening, the divine energy sleeping within every human being, and it was never meant to stay asleep. So again, it just feels like there's something that you're remembering, that remember your own potential on this planet Earth. And it just feels like there's an unlocking of your full potential, really. That's what it is. So the Earth is a highly spiritual, intelligent, aware being. Again, she is a conscious organism, okay? A conscious cosmic body. And no matter what has been served up to her now and how many have mistreated her, she's found a way to not just survive but also thrive. Sometimes it's not our role to know how everything will unfold, but when you draw this card, it's a reminder to trust the plan. The wisdom of Gaia is with you at this time, and you can enjoy the natural expansion that's taking place. So this is it's the next natural cycle for you to fully expand in this area of your life. You've chosen to be here, and it's not easy to accept, especially if your current reality is a harsh one, but your current experiences are vital for your growth. The Earth herself cannot escape the challenges that she's facing at this time. Learn from her strength, learn from her yearning for a better future, and come back to her. She is your chosen home. Yeah, there's beautiful things that your spirit gets to explore in this third dimension that no other dimensional plane gives us the privilege of actually being able to experience. And so many of us forget about that privilege of being able to actually participate in conscious, physical, interactive exchanges. And the emotional landscape that we also get to explore in this realm, what we have the privilege of being able to experience and explore, the adventure of losing oneself just to find themselves in the meeting once again, recognizing that they were never really lost. You always just were. Witnessing, like, playing hide and go seek with yourself, you know? It's just that you were looking externally when all external networks ultimately lead you back towards your own cosmic origins. And there's some type of beautiful just network of experiences that feels like it wants to flow from you. And I'm just seeing like a fishing line, so something that's going to be cast out. I'm going to go ahead and get a Shaman's Dream Oracle message, and then I'm going to love and leave you right there. Deep quiet, meditation, and stillness. Okay, so the cosmic self has something to say. This is only going to be found through stillness. So quieting the mind so that you can listen to your heart. This talks about going inwards. See, the intuition is very quiet. It's the fast, quiet, subtle knowing. Nothing more. It's not the one that questions. It's not the one that doubts. It's not the one that comes through and says, oh, what's this? Is this? No. It's the fast, intuitive head. And don't doubt that. And it doesn't come from here. It's from here. When I say I hear things, it's in here. These always sync. Okay? So, coherence. And if you don't, I don't want to say warning because it's not a fearmonger. Their hand is really sticking out right now. It's like a crystalline hand. I'm only seeing that for the first time like this. Right? Your energy to pay attention to is that if you do not go into stillness or meditation or quiet, the universe will pull you inwards. It's not going to pull you away from anything, but it will pull you inwards to gently shift the frameworks of how you're viewing yourself or your potential, or you're transforming your relationship to this area of your life. It talks about sometimes getting ill and then being forced to really take care of the vessel, nourish, or be pulled away from going out because you physically aren't able to. But then it also allocates you the time and redirects your focus towards what's actually in benefit for you at this stage of your soul's evolution. So it may appear like it's in disruption and it's poison for the ego, but it's so that the soul can receive the medicinal experience that it came here to work with, that it came here to alchemize. So I'm going to love any of you right there. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, do consider subscribing. We'd love to have you around. Personal reading details are also down below. I'm going to pull one of my oracle messages from Mexico. Let's see. What supports me when I need to rest? There could be something about you needing to rest. Be gentle with yourself. Right? What supports you? What is going to support you as you allocate or redirect energy to this area of your life? Let me know. What do you feel the calling is? What do you feel is falling away? And what do you feel like you're being called to invest more of your energy or attention towards? Because where your energy goes is going to be directly impacted by where your attention is. And that's where manifestation follows. Until next time.